Welcome back to day 6 of Wake Up, My Daughters, a 7-day return from drift. Yesterday, we returned with attentive hearts, choosing to notice and respond to God's voice in our daily lives. Today, we focus on the next step in the journey, transformation. Paul reminds us in Romans 12, verse 2, that God doesn't call us to blend in with the patterns of this world. Instead, He calls us to allow Him to renew our minds, shaping the way we think, respond, and live. Drift can quietly shape our thoughts, desires, and decisions. Transformation, however, is intentional and requires our hearts to remain open to God's work within us. Let's begin in Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. This verse is both a warning and an invitation. Paul doesn't say, don't rebel against the world. He says, don't be conformed to it. Conformity is quiet. It's gradual. It's when our thinking begins to mirror the culture more than Christ. Drift happens when we start measuring success the way the world does instead of the Word. When we fill our minds with constant noise but leave little room for Scripture. When we react out of fear, frustration, or exhaustion instead of faith. Or when we stop filtering our thoughts through truth and start accepting what feels normal. Romans 12:2 tells us that spiritual drift begins in the mind. What we dwell on shapes what we desire. What we repeatedly allow in eventually forms us. Take a moment now to reflect. In what areas of my life am I still conforming to the world instead of allowing God to transform my heart and mind? I want you to picture one small way today that you can invite God's renewal into your thoughts, choices, or reactions. Now, choose one intentional moment to interrupt the drift and renew your mind. Replace one anxious or negative thought with a specific truth from Scripture. Turn off background noise, music, news, social media, and sit quietly with God for 5 minutes. Write down one way your thinking needs to realign with God's truth and pray over it. Sister, renewal doesn't require hours. It requires intention, a willing heart, and one small step today. Thank you for taking this time today to awaken your heart. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you would share it with a friend who might need it. And remember to check the show notes for the reflection prompts, the action steps, and resources at wateredbytheword.com to help you continue your journey. And as always, let's wake up and walk it out together.